This is Ben from Testive, and we're looking at a grammar question here. Okay, so as usual, what we're going to do is read the sentence with the highlighted portion, and then we're going to place each answer choice in as a substitution for the highlighted portion, reading the complete sentence each time to make sure that we have the answer substituted in context. So let's start with the way it's currently written. We're talking about Sir Nicholas Winton. I say that just because we start with a pronoun here, so I want to make sure we know what we're referring to. He didn't fight in any battles, he didn't place himself in harm's way, and he had no strong desire to save the world. Instead, he simply solved a problem that he felt needed to be solved, and then lived in relative obscurity for 50 years. Okay, so let's see. That sounded pretty good to me. We have a list of things that Sir Nicholas Winton didn't do, or that he didn't have in the beginning of this here. And then we have a semicolon, and then another sentence that says, instead, he simply solved the problem, etc. Instead, he simply solved the problem would also be a clause that functions as a complete sentence on its own. We have a subject, he, and a verb, solved. Okay, so the rule for a semicolon, I'm pausing on this no change here because the rule for a semicolon is that a semicolon can only be used between two clauses that could function as complete sentences on their own. That's the thing to remember. You can only use a semicolon where you could also use a period. So you can never use a semicolon where you could use or would use a comma, and you can never use a comma where you would use a semicolon. Semicolon goes in place of a period between two thoughts that are complete but connected. So we have a complete thought here, and then we have a complete thought here, each of which would work as a sentence on its own. So the semicolon is good. So we can pretty quickly rule out some of these other answer choices. For example, we can rule out this one with the comma. He didn't fight in any battles, he didn't place himself in harm's way, and he had no strong desire to save the world. Instead, he simply solved the problem that he felt needed. Okay, we can't use a comma there because we're reintroducing a subject and verb here, so that doesn't work. He didn't fight in any battles, he didn't place himself in harm's way, and he had no strong desire to save the world instead. Well, that's even worse because there's no punctuation. And then this one uses a semicolon. But we can actually see right now that it's just the same as no change, except it starts this next clause with and that's not any better. We don't actually want to start it with and. We might as well just start it with the word instead, the same way that we wouldn't start a sentence on its own with the word and if we didn't need to. So we're going to go with no change as our correct answer.